All right. Hello. Is this working? Let's check this out. Hello, this is your average Joe, and this is going to be my very first scheduled live stream. Welcome to Thursday Throwdown. We're going to be talking about voting, YogiOabs, and Project Mayhem. That is right. Now, I'm going to have when in doubt, MGTOW go ahead and jump on here, and he's going to be on here because he went ahead and responded to my open invitation to go ahead and discuss the voting issues back in an open letter to Alexander Grace and Georgia Free on voting rights. So, I see that we have someone watching. Hello, how are you doing? Now, to go ahead and get this started, to set up the framework for the concept of voting rights, and what I talked about in that video was I basically responded to Georgia Free's video on when you take voting rights away from women, you'll create monsters, that you are essentially creating a system in which if you can infringe upon and remove the rights of one group, that all groups would eventually by default lose their rights. And she was responding essentially to, and I don't believe that she actually directly was responding to TFM's net taxpayer plan or his explanation of how he would handle voting rights, but instead she was responding based off of what Alexander Grace had said in his response. In fact, they were pretty much almost the exact same, which is the reason why I went ahead and when I responded to her video, I responded to his as well. Hello, how's it going? Now, when it comes to the very concept of the voting rights plan for TFM, to kind of set up the framework here, the very concept is that we basically repeal the 19th Amendment, and instead we add a constitutional amendment in place that would return voting back to what the Founding Fathers had originally intended. Just to double check really quickly, could you please put in the chat whether or not you can hear me or if there's any problems with sound? I would like to know. So, but in any case, when it comes to the very concept of voting rights and this inevitability, which is what, as TFM refers to as the inevitable moment when women will lose their rights due to any number of issues, any number of problems that they might have. If it comes down to societal collapse or Islamic takeover, or I mean, it's really, there's quite a few different circumstances in which I do agree with TFM on this, and I'm not really going to go into detail about that, but what I will go into detail on is I very much agree with his concept of the return to constitutional voting. Only those who are net taxpayers, because the original Constitution, the way it described how a voter would be, was that you had to own land, you had to own property. Now, when it comes to what a more modern sense of that would be, TFM describes that as being a net taxpayer. So being an individual who you're not drawing upon the system, you're not taking money from the government, and you're not inherently being subsidized in any way by the government, but instead all the taxes you pay are completely net. You don't own any money, no money is being given back to you, you're not being subsidized. So therefore, you are a person who, because you're contributing in a meaningful way to society, you should be a person who is allowed to vote. You should be the person who is allowed to make decisions because you have an interest in what is going on. You have an inherent value in society because of what is going on, because you have stakes in society that, unlike a person who is drawing welfare and who is drawing from the ever-growing number of social resources, the social safety net, we can go ahead and because they're going to continuously vote in the manner that we've been seeing, which is more welfare, more social safety net programs, and a continuation of the same issues that we have today. And instead, I favor. It's not to say that there wouldn't be you wouldn't have net taxpayers that would vote for welfare or vote for social programs or vote for public infrastructure. Well, not really public infrastructure, because that would be something that would be covered normally, but that they would vote for extracurricular programs, because that's exactly what they are. They're outside of the normal curriculum in regards to how exactly they function in society. You would still have people that would vote for that because they think it is a morally objective, right thing to do. Now, on the other hand, though, I also agree with the plan because it would inherently stop corruption, or at least it would make it very, very difficult and actually more cost-worthy than it is actually cost-effective. And what I mean by that is, because of the way that system would be set up, anybody who inherently subsidizes themselves, or they give themselves a benefit, or they vote themselves in the ability to collect money off of the government, well, now they're no longer a net taxpayer. So therefore, they can no longer vote. So whatever laws that they passed within the next cycle, the net taxpayers will then vote on and most likely get rid of it, because if it's going to single-handedly benefit this individual who voted this in, or these individuals that voted it in, this group that voted the stuff in, they would just get voted out again. So that way, you know, that law would not stand. It would not pass. It would not continue on. I like that. I agree with that, because to be frankly honest, if you're looking at politics, the best way to, I would think, to look at it, or at least have the concept thereof, is the Machiavellian prince concept, where you have to make moves to not anticipate the goodness of man, but instead you must make moves to appeal to the inherent self-interest of men, and you know, the inherent self-interest of humanity, because every person is self-interested. These people are everyone is at some point more interested in their own value, in what they have, what they can get, rather than what they can go ahead and, you know, I guess what they could give, rather than what they could get, rather than what they could give. Alrighty then. So now that I've kind of sent, let's see, a bit of framework going on here. Really, more or less, what I wanted to go ahead and do is really focus on the, well, I mean, just kind of, that's the framework for voting, and now go ahead and focus on a little bit of the framework behind, really, why exactly am I talking about YogiOabs? Why would I have an invested stake in YogiOabs? What could I possibly have to gain from talking about that? And well, I actually ironically did a live stream yesterday in my car. Hello, I see that more people have gone ahead and jumped on in. How is everyone doing tonight? But I did a live stream yesterday, rambled in my car, and I was discussing PUAs, and I was discussing what I saw as an inherent issue with PUA and incel mentalities. And in a very ironic sense, I listed off YogiOabs and Amy Young, not actually realizing that this was something that was exploding as I was filming that live stream. So there is an inherent interest in really what happens now regarding what exactly Yogi was doing. Hello, Side Alone 801. How are you doing? How is Salt Lake City? Is it snowing there? But why exactly are we discussing PUAs and incels? And I think that it has to do with this fact that we've been talking about this for a while. I've been seeing videos on this for a while. It's something that's been discussed for a while. And how do we handle PUAs that are migrating to MGTOW due to Me Too backlash? And how do we handle incels that are going MGTOW in efforts to preserve their pride? And really what I see is a very interesting issue forming. It's a dichotomy that is beginning to show who is actually a man that is interested in actually going his own way and doing what he sees fit to do with his own life and his own path, and men who are saying that they're MGTOW for no other purpose than they think that this is part of some grand movement to retake the West back from the leftist mobs and this extremist ideology, when in all actuality it's just literally, how are you going to survive in a modern era? So I wanted to go ahead and discuss a little bit about that. And as for Mayhem, this is something that was brought up to me during the live stream yesterday as well by When in Doubt MGTOW. And he brought up the concept of Project Mayhem. And in my little brief little research, that was it's a reference to Fight Club, if I do remember correctly, in regards to basically men retaking masculinity back, men focusing on retaking back what they identify as men and doing what they consider a manly or, you know, just something that we want to do. And I'm looking forward to having him go ahead and jump on here. So I do believe that he is currently, not sure if he's traveling or not, so that way he can explain it a little bit more. And perhaps that, you know, he's referring to something else entirely that I did not reference. But that also goes into the levels of MGTOW. This is a concept I've heard before, but I haven't really quite looked too much into. Now, really when it comes to, I'm going to go ahead and start on the Yogi stuff. Oh, absolutely. Traversable, you're absolutely right. POA won't admit at times that they are incel, and every man will come to a point where he has a dry spell, hence involuntary celibate. Well, and the thing is, if you're looking at the strict definition of what incel is, which is just exactly that, it's involuntary celibate. Any man that is looking to have sex, but then through whatever reason can't. So he can't get the girl, or she's just not interested, or just, you know, for whatever reason, he is not having sex. They become an involuntary celibate because they voluntarily want to have sex, but they involuntarily can't because, you know, it's reasons out of their control. So if we're looking at it like that, then yes, a lot of men are incels. There's a lot of men that, you know, would be by that definition. But I don't view what we call, like, under that definition, I think that there's a lot of men that would be incels. But the incel community themselves, ironically, I came across a video where there was an individual who was attacking MGTOW, saying that we were arrogant and, you know, full of ourselves, and we need to stop looking down on incels. And I responded to him and basically attempted to explain to him that the issue with incels really is this self-fulfilling prophecy. They create this self-fulfilling ideology that I can't have sex because I'm an incel. Well, why am I an incel? Because I can't have sex. And they will sit there and spin that gear. Those wheels will continue to turn over and over and over again. And they refuse to leave that hamster wheel. They refuse to stop spinning that wheel because it's how they validate themselves. And they have to see the world in the same context as PUAs. And I think that that's the reason why we see the PUA culture and the incel culture clash. Hello, Savage Reality. How are you doing? But I think this is a reason why we see PUAs and incels clash, or actually parasitically depend upon each other. Because PUAs need incels to be incels. They need people who are so desperate for female validation and so desperate to be a part of the gynocentric nature of things that I mean they're willing to pay out, you know, $2,000 or $3,000 or however much is a part of this never-ending cycle of, really, honestly, it's almost this pathetic kind of, you know, search for validation. And I'm not saying anything bad about incels specifically. I don't like the concept of how they look at the world, because it's so desperate. It's so, you know, completely and utterly lacking in substance. And what I find with that I have the issue with is, honestly, the very fact that when offered the MGTOW concept of how to do things, of taking charge of your life and really going through with your own way, you know, creating your own path, essentially, they kind of at the concept, back up, and just kind of, no, that's not right. You're not alpha. You're not chat enough. Hello, Bob the Muck. How are you doing? Traversable. The mind is the difference. Acceptance to solitude, hence voluntary free time. MGTOW is acceptance of the world and all of its entropy and chaos. Yes, absolutely. We accept the world as it is. We accept the very fact that the nature of the world in and of itself is chaotic, but at the same time, it is because of the stagnancy that we have seen right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but because of the stagnancy we've seen in different areas, it's become a corpse. It's rotting in and of itself, and it's really beginning to fall apart at the seams because it cannot sustain itself any longer. It needs to be replaced, but people refuse to because they're scared of the change. They're scared of the concept that things have to be different or things will be different. So, in any sense, what I think is really going to come from this, honestly, is, especially when it comes to YogiOabs and his very, very extreme claim that MGTOW men are just losers. We're inferior species, and that we should, you know, we rightfully will go extinct. That we will rightfully, basically, we deserve what we get because we are a bunch of incels who cannot compete, who cannot possibly succeed in life because, you know, I mean, honestly, his reasoning is, I'm very hesitant to say that it's completely flawed, because what he referenced seemed a little odd to me, that he would reference the reaction to the Amy Young video, which, by the way, I've seen that video, the avocado and the banana. And what I find wrong with that concept, not that there's anything wrong with what she was trying to say, I had the issue with the fact that she really didn't have anything. I mean, she was trying extremely hard to get people, or to at least get these women to see what the issue was. But what I find really kind of hurts it, that really gets to the point where it kind of falls flat on its face. Hello, Silent Sage. How's it going? But, thank you, Bob. The reason why the Amy Young analogy falls flat on its face is because it's coming from a woman who didn't even take her own advice. So, in an essence, she very much has kind of, because she's disregarded herself and what she had to say because of herself, it's very difficult to go ahead and insinuate something such as, oh, you should definitely make this decision. I didn't make it myself. I wouldn't follow my own advice. But, you know, go ahead and take my advice. Take the avocado, even though I myself did not do this, even though I did not participate in the same manner that I said that I would. Now, the reason why I find that, not to mention the fact that she is very, very difficult to watch, extremely difficult to watch, more so than most, which is saying something, because if you've ever gotten in the mood to go ahead and watch the female dating coaches' attempts to talk about how women should perceive the world, or how women should go ahead and jump into the dating world, that they should participate with dating, it is extremely difficult to, I mean, in really any case, it's difficult to listen to them, because they don't often give anything that's really meaningful. There's nothing really of context there. It's more of this touchy-feely, if you're empowered, go do your own thing, girl, kind of stuff. And it falls flat on its face every single time, because it's not good dating advice. And even when you have these girls attempts to give these, like, at least somewhat decent dating advice, they then level everything at the man, like, oh, you need to do this and this and this, you need to fix yourself, you need to dress better, you need to approach her better, you need to talk better, and they're no better than the PUAs. But really, in all honesty, the biggest issue that I find with this is the context, really, that Yogi would basically, how he would cut his own hamstrings in an effort to say that because there was this reaction to Amy Young, and I do believe that the one that he specifically called out was Hercules, MGTOW, and Undead Chronic. So I think that's kind of, I've seen both of their responses too. Not extremely mature, but then again, they don't have to be, because her content isn't, it's not something you can take seriously. So no, I don't think that it warrants a mature response. Yogi adds her agency by suggesting whatever she says is right. Yep, absolutely. And that's the thing is, I'm very interested to really find out why exactly he wanted to give Amy Young, out of all of the different, you know, dating coaches out there, why he would offer her agency, why he would offer her this, really this white knighting, which I was very surprised to see still happening, honestly. That, and out of everyone that I would have expected that from, Yogi was not one that would strike me as an inherent white white knight. But I guess reality often shows us where we have gone wrong. Now, the other thing that I find it very interesting comes from the concept. Let's see here. Sorry, going through some technical issues right now, but it goes into this notion, really, between the PUAs and MGTOW. Yeah, I actually really think that it has to do with, hello, when in doubt. I sent you a invite on Hangouts. I do believe, if it didn't send, go ahead and send one again, but I believe that because Yogi is getting older and he's beginning to panic that he's not going to find someone that's the reason why he's gone ahead and, for the most part, thrown his glove in. And let's see here. Okay, so hello, when in doubt. Okay, let's see this. Can you guys hear me on the live stream? Can you hear when in doubt? Okay. Yeah, I already started this. So, apologize for the technical delays. So, let's see here. When in doubt, would you like to just jump on the Hangout really quick, and then I'll go ahead and jump on your Discord the next time? Yeah. Okay, thanks. All right, sounds good. All right, thank you very much, guys, for your patience and understanding. This is the very first time that I've gone ahead and messed around with this stuff. So let's see here. It's a bit difficult to work with this, honestly. It seems so much simpler when you are jumping in and joining someone else's, but you don't really recognize or give them the credits that they deserve. So MGTOW values, you definitely have a lot more respect for me when it comes. Okay. But I definitely respect MGTOW values a lot more because of how smooth that he has that entire thing set up.
Yo, what up, brother?
Oh, when in doubt. Welcome to the live stream.
Oh yeah, how's it going, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I just got off of a stream with Portuguese MGTOW and some other stuff going on there. That was pretty fun.
Back-to-back streaming. How does that? Like, how does that feel?
Well, you're a whole different flavor. So I gotta start over again. It's nice.
Good. Don't want too many things back to back. So I went ahead and, if I don't believe that you were here for it, but I went ahead and went over the framework for voting, Yogi, and Mayhem. But if you'd like to go ahead and whichever topic you'd like to jump in on, we can go ahead and get started with that.
Let's see. What's voting? I'm not quite sure.
So this was off of you put the comment on my open letter to Georgia Free and Alexander Grace in regards to voting rights, and you said that you would want to discuss about it. Do you remember that by any chance, or?
No, dude. I had so much going on since then. However, voting rights. Definitely, we can talk about that.
Okay, so in that video, I made the response to Georgia Free's Creating a Monster video, where she essentially incited the concept that if we went through with the TFM plan, and if you watch her video, you notice that she doesn't actually directly cite what she's talking about, which tells me, and knowing her, I don't think she actually went and watched TFM's video. I think that she heard this secondhand from Alexander.
Lazy.
Oh, absolutely. So basically, this is Alexander Grace's response, just given a female voice now, because I've noticed that ever since they did their little live stream together, when he makes a video, she makes a video, and they say the same exact things. Just it's slightly worded a little bit differently. Oh yes, savage reality, voting rights, yes. But the concept in and of it is that if we go with the TFM plan, which is, he says just take women's rights away. I take it more or less of, I would rather refer to that as repealing the 19th and replacing it with a new amendment, or amending the 19th Amendment to, instead of including everyone as inherently having the universal quality of voting, that it would have to go back to a more constitutional driven society. Basically, that you would only have net taxpayers, which would be the modern property owners and property owners or landowners, that would actually have the ability to vote. Now, I'm not going to go completely into TFM's concept because it's about a 45-minute video, and he does for it in depth exactly what he's talking about. But basically, he divvies up votes between different groups of people based upon either their service in the United States military, whether or not they're a net taxpayer, how states would handle voting. But in essence, my response back to her was, using the slippery slope argument that if we change or alter the 19th Amendment in order to remove this ability to have just anyone vote, that would lead to the new Fourth Reich, Nazi Germany. We are back, doing this all over again. So that was my response to her. To hear your thoughts on the matter.
Okay, so I guess really it comes down to a simple question for me.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want to be in control? The people who make the changes that we all have to live by, who do you want that to be? Do you want that to be the people who are in control now? The people who are pushing the feminist agenda? Do you want it to be the people who are allowing it to happen? Do you want it to be the people who are silent but benefiting from it? Who should have the right to tell all of us how to live our lives? That's a question, if you wouldn't mind answering.
Okay, so a little bit of a loaded one, but I like it. Really, the way I view this is I would prefer, in all honesty, that this is the utopian concept. This is, if we're talking idealism, if we're talking like, perfect world scenario, I would want a meritocracy. If you're actually worth it, you get the right and the ability to speak, and if you can't cut it, guess what? Sit down and either keep trying or accept your lot in life. Now, I know it's a because I've had some people. Well, where's the standard? How do you set the standard? What would that be? How would you define it? And really, what it comes down to is it goes back to exactly what I just talked about before. It's a simple responsibility. Be a net taxpayer. If you can be a net taxpayer, if you are someone that is not being subsidized by the government, if you're not accepting welfare, accepting a check from the government that's not related to something like a service injury or related to military service, if it's anything else but that, then no, you shouldn't have the right to speak, because you're obviously inherently, by Machiavellian principles, you're going to go ahead and vote yourself more things. Humans are self-interested, so we should follow what the founding fathers developed, which was a system to combat that self-interest. So, and the thing is, I look at the fact that we put in the 19th Amendment, which was this universal voting right. Everyone had the right to vote. No one had to prove that they actually had to have this right to vote. And that's when we see everything really from that point on, and a little bit before, that's when everything started going south. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on my response now.
Okay, sure.
You have them.
Instead of me critiquing your response, because there's lots of different ways that can go, instead I'll answer my own question. I would say that no one has the right to do that. Like our man Savage Reality says, taxation is theft. What I would support, what I would be in favor of, would be a opt-in tax system. Meaning that, of course, things need to be run. Trains need to run. There needs to be roads, infrastructure. Absolutely. For that, I'm pretty sure we could all understand that that is not the opt-in taxes. The opt-in taxes are the social systems, or are the planned growths of a community. Things like this should be opt-in instead of a small group of people getting a law passed which requires you to pay into it. For example, I shouldn't have to pay for someone else's abortion. I'm never going to have one. It's just the matter of, why would anyone be forced to pay for something that they are not ever going to be part of? We should have the right to say no, and we currently don't.
Oh, well, absolutely. I completely agree with that. And honestly, I think that's more realistic than what I just talked about, to be complete. Well, no, it's not really realistic. Well, it's nicer. It's a lot nicer.
Are you saying that it's idealistic but not practical?
No, I'm saying it's more of how on earth would you convince the self-interest mass of the self-interest masses of the women who are currently in power, which is unfortunate, because obviously of all the reasons why we're sitting here right now having this discussion. But how would you convince them that you should have the ability to literally tell them, no, I'm not paying for your welfare?
Well, to answer that, we'd have to then ask the question of who should be allowed to vote.
Which goes back to exactly what this entire conversation's about.
Right. So if taxes are opt-in, who should be allowed to vote on what taxes get passed? The people paying into it. So I would agree with the taxpayers. I'm not necessarily sure what the difference is between net taxpayer and other taxpayers, but anyone who's paying taxes from an income more than part-time should be able to have a say in what their community, if not their country, does with their tax money.
So yeah, let me clarify that then for a second. So the difference between a normal taxpayer and a net taxpayer would be, do you know the difference between gross income and net income?
Yes.
It's the same concept, just instead of getting money, you're paying taxes.
Okay.
So instead of gross taxes, it's net taxes. It's a zero sum. Everything you pay out is completely like a minus to you. You're not getting anything in return. So that's what the trade-off is because you're getting nothing in return. You now get the ability to have actually authority over how that money is spent back, in comparison to someone who got something back. So therefore, you should not have the authority to say what the money goes to because you didn't contribute a full amount.
Okay, so to be clear, you're saying a net taxpayer is someone who does not get a refund from the IRS?
I mean, I think that the actual tax system itself, I am very much in favor of a full reform. So I think that the entire concept that you get a refund at the end of the year is ridiculous, because it should. Okay, we live in a modern era where we have computers that are developing self-aware AI. You're going to tell me that we can't come up with a system that takes out exactly the amount of taxes you need, so that way at the end of the year it's just completely zeroed out. You don't pay anymore. Lazy.
I hear you.
It's freaking lazy.
Efficiency, man. Efficiency.
Yeah. So, but then again, if anything that I learned in the military is the government doesn't care about efficiency. Bureaucracy always has a say, and there's always someone that's just half retarded at the top.
Okay, so now that we've determined what a net taxpayer is, fine.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Now let's take it into the reality of today. Should men be able to vote? Should women be able to vote?
I don't think that it should have to deal specifically with gender. I don't think it should. So when I say that in regards to this concept right here, if we start playing that specific game, men get to vote, women don't get to vote, this race gets to vote, that race doesn't get to vote, that's where we start coming into the issue of racial politics, identity politics, and these things actually having a validity of a kind. Not saying it's like, oh, if only men get to vote, women are going to suffer. No. It's then they can play that card of, well, according to identity politics, because I don't have a right to vote, I'm oppressed. Well, great.
Okay.
Now,
so
now
I
they
hear what
actually
you're
have
saying, but there's a reason I'm asking specifically men and women.
Yes.
There are multiple races, many races. There's different colors a person can be. There's different ideas people can hold to. But biologically speaking, there's only men and women. And biologically speaking, men and women have predefined roles in the family and society. Men are men, women are women. Men protect women while they have children because women are the only ones that can, for now. So, should, in this dichotomy, this binary system of men and women, who should be able to vote?
Is this an all or nothing question?
No, because there's an answer. Or, I mean, you can provide an answer, so it's not all or nothing.
Well, I would say that in regards to, like I said before, if the person proves themselves to be responsible enough to be worthy and has the merits, I think they've earned the right to have a say in the game. However,
Okay. So
according to
then, sorry, because I want to have a short answer so that I can continue asking the questions to get to where I'm going. So, you think basically that like the egalitarian view of anyone should be able to vote?
not so much egalitarian, because I do not believe humans are inherently equal in any sense of the manner.
Well, no, okay. So in the terms of the question, you think that
Yeah.
both genders, both sexes should be able to vote?
If they prove themselves, yes.
Okay.
Because I know different people that make it very difficult for me to just say men are better. Men would be more suited for this role than women. I know plenty of men that would fail instantly with authority or responsibility. So, in that they would not qualify for that. In the same
Okay.
regard, it's not as many women, but I do know a few, like a handful, that under that system would qualify and do have the ability to lead and have authority. But again, in the larger context of things, those are statistically negligible. So honestly, I would like to say both, but if we're talking pure what kind of results do we want, I would say then men only.
Interesting. Okay. So, like you in your feelings, you want to say both men and women, but practically men?
I would say that would, based upon history, that would lead to the best outcome.
So would I. If you look at it this way, if men and women are both in the seat of power, there will be a struggle, there will be a war. Just like in any relationship, if both of them want to be in charge, they will constantly be fighting. If you're in a relationship where one person is the leader and the other person is the follower, regardless of who it is, that is usually teamwork. When it comes to women being the leaders, what do we see? What examples do we have current day of strong female leaders? Dumb bitches who run their mouths and hurt men and hurt society to try to better themselves, so to speak.
So I do have to ask this question since it did pop up into my mind. Do you think that over time that these female leaders, if given the opportunity to, do you think that they would disenfranchise men and strip men's rights to vote?
Men's rights to vote.
Do you think that they would take away men's right to vote and make it women only go to vote? Basically, flip the 19th and only have women.
No, because they're not that dumb. If they did that, they would then provoke men into revolution. That would force men to take their power back. Not
So
all of
that,
them, of course, not all of them would be doing this, but the ones that have had enough would stand up and flip the table and say, look, starting a new game. We're in control now.
do you think that's what it would take for men to actually stand up and just say enough is enough with this?
Enough is enough. Man, you just hit one of my lyrics from my rap song, dude.
I know I chose that for that reason.
Oh, nice.
But
But yeah, I don't think it'll have to come to that. I think that right now, men who are awake and seeing this shit, men that have gone MGTOW and learned what their way is, men who want to do something about it, like the men of Project Mayhem, they can take actions to affect a change in reality.
yes, so I was actually curious about that. Honest, because you made mention of that, and I did look it up, and what I was finding was really just Fight Club references. So could you explain to me what you meant by Project Mayhem?
Yes, so it is an initiative that I am spearheading. That's why I was talking about the different levels of MGTOW. MGTOW introduction, most men who start getting red pilled and start going MGTOW, they usually slip into like the grief cycle or the cycle of understanding and rage and depression and all of that. And that's perfect for like Sandman videos, just little clips that display all this shit over and over again. That's why I said, look, I understand. I'm red pill. I know what's going on. I know how I feel about it. And I know what I want. I've been going my way, and I will go my way. But I'm tired of not changing it. I'm tired of it being this way. Instead of waiting for it to change, let's do what men usually do. And instead of sitting on our asses waiting for things to change, let's go create a change. Let's do these little actions, these little nuisance, childish friction activities to create a little effect, to create little changes here and there in the reality of our society.
So basically what you are suggesting then is, again, similar to the message in Fight Club, take back your life in the smallest way. Start small and kind of build upon that. Take MGTOW, start small, red pill yourself, get yourself into a state where I'm red pilled, I understand the world, I'm moving, to things, and start affecting small changes that will slowly but surely affect reality. Am I understanding you correctly?
Basically, yes. After you're comfortable being MGTOW and you have been it for a while and you understand what's going on and who you are and what your direction is, Project Mayhem is just a set of ideas, and a few actions you can take to just make reality less easy for the people who are making it harder for men.
Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, then, if those, if you're willing to share with us, what would those ideas possibly be?
Definitely. I'm actually creating a video, my introduction video for Project Mayhem. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm putting a lot of work into it. But some of the actions that you can do they go from simple to complex, and they all depend on the specific MGTOW that are implementing the ideas and his moral compass. But there's ideas like, one, stickers, banners, this sort of thing. Putting a physical representation out in the world of MGTOW. Bringing MGTOW instead of an idea or a YouTube video, bring it out to the real world as something other men can see in the area. Real time, real life saturation. Another thing would be if you know specific women who are in the thought category, you could do little things to make her life a little bit more uneasy, such as jamming keyholes with gum, or letting air out of her tires, not destroying them. That's not what we're about. We're not talking about destruction, but nuisance, waste of time, aggravation.
It's an interesting concept. So I'll have to think about that for a little bit longer. I'm not exactly sure how, because I like it, but at the same time, there's some things that the only thing that I think about that though is it, as Bob just said, it's kind of a little bit not parallel with MGTOW, but it's perpendicular to MGTOW. So because MGTOW is walking away, not engaging, removing yourself completely from the situation, and this is engaging back in the world and kind of providing essentially the gremlin in these people's lives, which I think it could, I mean, in theory, it could be beneficial, but at the same time, I would also see that it could also go completely out of control so quickly, so fast, and that would cause so many issues, so many problems for men, and we already have enough of those. But I do like the concept, though, of...
Well, I would have to disagree with the notion that MGTOW is about removing. I would say MGTOW is more about determining risks and deciding which risks you're willing to take. That's why you don't get married, because you know the game is stacked. You know, the deck is stacked in someone else's favor. The game is rigged. That's why you don't marry, not because you can't, but because it's dumb to do so.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
No, please continue. You weren't finished.
Yeah. In my path of going my own way, I decided to not be a bystander. I'm a man of action, naturally. That's just who I am. And being a man of action, I can't just sit by and let this shit be the way it is when I know I can do something about it.
So, I'm the same way, in the fact that I like action. I like to do things. I like to get things done, and I think this is a lot of men. We like to be involved in our own lives, take actions, fix problems, get it done. But, here's the thing, I'm not saying that action is not necessary. My comment would be timing. Timing is everything, and I would argue that now is not quite yet the time for this.
I would disagree. I would say there's never a good time for dissent of the powerful. It'll never be a good time to stand up for yourself. It'll never be a good time to tell those who wish to control you, no more. It's never going to be a good time for that.
I would say 2020 is a good time for that.
Why?
Causing more havoc during an election period. Now, doesn't
that kind of coincide with what I was just saying? If you're worried about causing havoc?
Well, no, it's again, this is feeling versus practicality. Feeling, okay. as a young guy, you know, and I have to agree with Sage here. It's, in my view, us not involving ourselves, not us removing ourselves from the situation, focusing on our own lives, and teaching each other, helping each other, discussing each other, like what we're doing right now. That's the best thing we can do right now. Because we're still very much disconnected. There's still very much a lack of...
Brother Joe, I understand what you're saying. I do. It can be a risky thing. I totally get it. And I get the idea of not engaging and removing. However, what war is won by not fighting? What can we expect to be changed if we do nothing to make it change? What sort of outcome can we expect if we're not willing to take any risks at all to affect the outcome? If you have a hand in a game of cards and you play no cards, how do you win? You have to take action if you want to win. You have to advance a goal. Simply removing yourself is protecting yourself. Protecting yourself and then finding a way to fight back is how you win.
So then my question to you then would be, what if that game entirely depended upon you taking a turn? If you walked away from the table and the game stopped, and that would cause the other person to be unable to finish the game because you're not participating.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but the analogy makes no sense. Us removing our resources, our time, our energy from the system doesn't stop the system. Us not doing anything just allows them to do more. This is not they're waiting for us to do something. This is not that kind of game. This is a game where if you don't play something, you just lose your turn, and then they get another turn.
It's well, the other reason why I would say, and this is just my conjecture based upon what I'm seeing right now.
Like in chat, or what you think?
Well, based upon what's currently going on and some of the things, I mean, we've all been seeing it. We've been talking about it. The left is eating itself and destroying itself. And that largely does have to do with the fact that they have no one fighting them. If you don't give these individuals a target, they have nothing to shoot at. And they will start shooting each other because they have nothing else to do. And if they have nothing to do, their power structure falls apart. And it's the reason why we see the Democrat Party right now imploding, is
I
because they
hear
have no
what you're
one to
saying,
fight.
and you're not necessarily wrong about like the events that are happening, but you have to abstract that, right? So let's say you have a governing body of uh, an item. This governing body gets replaced. There's a coup, and they all get killed. And this new governing force then starts going about business of governing. However, since they already did the coup, the old enemy isn't there. However, they have their own individual goals. So now they have to compete for these achievement of goals. They're not going to completely destroy each other. Some of them will submit, some of them will collaborate. It's a matter of governance. That's just what governance is. Sitting there and saying, let's just completely not do anything because they'll eventually kill themselves and then we'll be okay, is wishful thinking and completely incorrect.
Well, it goes into what Savage Reality just put down there, and this is something that I've looked at before, especially when it comes to the concept of insurgency and counterinsurgency. You don't win the war by taking the fight to them. You win the war by breaking their ability to resist. You break their ability to coalesce and fight and have action. You break their ability to congregate and come together, because if you don't give them something to target, they can't fight you.
Oh, so like 9/11, we weren't engaging them in war, but they still attacked us. Is that the kind of, non-involvement that you're talking about being successful and winning? Because I see what you're saying. Like you have like the good talking points, and you have like the items that we can talk about and what other people have said. But I'm just saying, like, realistically, can you think of any sort of game or any sort of fight where you win by not playing and allowing the other person to dominate you? That's not how winning works in
Well,
reality.
no, I know it's really what we're talking about right now. I think it's something that we all fundamentally know, and it's something that even um, because, like I said, I've been going back and forth with you on this, but here's the thing: is this is an inevitability. We both know that. We know that what I'm talking about right now, I'm just doing this to, one, kind of try and give some kind of opposition, but two, also to try and force some more thought. But to be completely honest, this is the inevitability of this. This will come to pass. So yes, I agree with you on that. I just think for right now, it's just a little bit longer. So
Okay, well, if you're talking about a time frame, I think right now is the perfect time to start desensitizing ourselves to the small risks that I'm proposing, to the small risks of being annoying, to the small risks of not being nice. If we can't do that, we can't do anything. If we can't be unnice, then, I mean, hey, what can we do and when can we do it? Like I said, each of the items that I'll be proposing in my video, each man can choose to undertake and implement in his own way according to his own morals. The idea is to do what you think you should to cause the friction. And then there's just a list of ideas that you can execute on if you wish to.
Yeah, I would honestly just say my only concern that is just be careful with that due to how, especially when it comes to the new community guidelines and how YouTube's cracking down, I would very much be sad to see your profile get ripped off because Google decides you're a terrorist or something. So
I understand, and I think I've been pretty level about what I'm saying. I'm not encouraging any sort of violence, destruction, or illegality, just nuisance.
yeah. Okay, well, I think
we covered mayhem and voting.
yes, which means going into the last part, I guess, or, well, I mean, these are the three topics I came up with, but we're moving through these awfully quickly.
Don't worry, we have more. Remember I sent you an email with some things I wanted to talk about as well?
Yes, so let's go ahead and talk about the third thing that's on the agenda, and then it's freestyle. And that's going to be YogiOabs and that nice little mess and can of worms that has been opened with that. What do you think about the entire thing?
Well, honestly, I completely disregarded YogiOabs because, I mean, he's a pickup artist. So, I mean, what they do is run game as a lifestyle. I immediately said, no, why would I listen to this dude? He's just going to be running game on me. That's what they do. They run game. So I just completely disregarded it. And then I saw like it blew up when eventually people were surprised that he was a pickup artist doing pickup artist shit. So I don't know. I would say I responded to Mike the MGTOW Monk's video, and I really was just asking guys why they were surprised. What made them think that trusting and liking and promoting this guy was a good idea, just to be honest with themselves and truly reflect on the decision they made.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you as well. I paid attention to Yogi in his first 3 videos, and then he made a comment about how social justice warriors might be right. And
oh, shit, for real?
Yeah. He
what a
statement. Yeah, no, he's like, they might be right, and I'm like, done. So,
well, it doesn't even matter what about.
I don't like. Here's the thing. You might actually have something that's so factually correct. You have all the evidence. You can support everything you have to say. I am done listening to you because of the fact that you're entertaining their nonsense to begin with. Now, honestly, I think that this is the same thing as the DDJ incident, to be completely honest, because it seems to be twice now that the POA community has pulled this stuff, because anyone that is saying that DDJ is not a pickup artist but has somehow ended up with the Red Man group is out of their goddamn minds. But the thing about it that I think is, what I see POA doing is they see MGTOW as a complete and total threat to their industry. And really what they absolutely need MGTOW to do is fail. Because it goes into what I was talking about on my live stream yesterday, whereas Sasha Day Game is sitting there talking about the day I almost went MGTOW, and he's trying to frame it as he almost went so extreme, and I never would love again, and I never would have cared about anyone, but then I met her, and she changed my mind, and I'm full of love, and I'm like, where is she?
Wow, you almost left the Matrix.
I know. Well, no. But then this is the question I asked. This is the question I left on that video. It got deleted, unfortunately. But this is the question: where is she?
Right. So, did you guys get married? Did you have kids? That turned out well? Did it? Huh? Did it? Huh?
Well, and that's the thing is, that's what the point I was making yesterday with that live stream, my little ramble in the car was. POAs, they talk all of this game. I get all the poo-tang, I get all the girls, I have all the stuff, I'm such a Chad, I'm alpha, I have frame, I'm such a bro. And they have nothing to show for it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why. Like, I just as soon as I saw PUA, I'm like, I understand their business model. I understand what it is they do, and I'm just that's not for me. I'd much rather just be involved with the truth and present myself as I am. Because if a bitch don't like me, fuck that bitch. I don't need her around me. I'd rather have a bitch that's delusional and thinks I'm awesome than a bitch that is realistic and is like, I can do better. Well, fuck you. Go do better, bitch. Bye bye.
Well, and that's really what MGTOW comes down into play. What I see with a lot of guys who actually live it, don't just talk game but live it. They don't care what people think about them, and it's the same thing with
Can't afford to, man.
no, and that's the thing is, I think that's the reason why you see PUAs desperate to try and cause MGTOW to have issues, is because they think that if they can just get enough drama started, all of the guys will just abandon MGTOW and society will go back to normal because MGTOW is the problem. And really, the thing I thought was absolutely incredible about his little statement was, and again, this is not promote drama or sit here and gossip or anything like that. So just throwing that disclaimer out there, I'm not here to push drama or do any of that stuff. I find this stuff interesting to talk about because of the fact that you have these people attempting to make moves on what they consider a movement and a community, people that they can control, groups. And it doesn't work. It never works because, yeah, you have some guys that religiously follow certain, guys on YouTube, but in most other cases it's, okay, whatever, dude, just a bunch of dudes being, a bunch of little prissy girls, whatever, carry on. But the statement that he made in there that I thought was absolutely incredible was really incredible for the fact that you understand, like, who you're talking to, right? Like, when he made the comment of, when these women hit the wall, you need to man up and be there for them.
Oh, yeah. When they start bringing in shaming language.
Yeah. Well, and I'm
man.
like, well, and no,
yeah, MGTOW are incels.
Yeah,
no,
well,
man,
it's like MGTOW are inferior, and they're absolutely like MGTOW men are inferior men. This is the reason why they say they're going their own way. It's a coping mechanism to protect your pride, so you don't feel like you're failing in life. But in all actuality, you're failing in life. And the whole reason why that woman just hit the wall and she's single and lonely and there's no kids is because you're a failure of a man. And I'm sitting here laughing because I'm just how in the hell do you have evidence to support this? Where's your evidence?
Well,
I have evidence.
On the basics, though, too. Like on the basics, face of the facts.
Yeah.
Which MGTOWs do you hear judging other MGTOWs by what they do for women? That is not what most MGTOW talk about. We don't put each other down because they aren't doing enough for women. That's not what we talk about.
Well, and the thing is, and then to sit there and insinuate that we are the incel community that actually does hate women and does hate MGTOW and anyone that's not incel because of their little... I love their thought process. I love their oversimplified thought process. It comes down to... and I talked about this before. I'm an incel because I can't have sex. Well, why can't I have sex? Well, it's because I'm an incel.
Hold on, sorry. I just got a MGTOW thread. MGTOW can raise kids. We can help develop good women and strong men. Prove me wrong. Fuck you, MGTOW thread. I'm gonna prove you right. I have a son and a daughter that I love more than anything else in the world, and they are growing to be strong and smart, and I will see to it, because anyone who stands in the way will meet my fucking wrath. My job is to be a father, and I aim to be a damn good one, and no one will stop me. So, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing is, honestly, when it comes to the future when it comes to transhumanism, when it comes to what we've talked about before on the listening post, and both in your ethical evolution video and even in my sexual economics, power, and robots video. MGTOW men, when the artificial womb comes, when people are able to have children with, like a woman's able to have a child without a man, and a man is able to have a child without a woman, when that comes, first of all, we're going to see society split. It's going to go men on one side, women on the other. I honestly think they're going to have, like, here's a bunch of single fathers in this neighborhood, and here's a bunch of single mothers in this neighborhood. And what we're going to see is honestly going to be, the single fathers are going to be wildly successful, and the single mothers are going to be just doing exactly what they've been doing this entire time. And I think that, especially in the age of transhumanism, and especially in the age of the artificial womb, and this ability to have these children, the women will go for the artificial womb completely, because they're like, oh, I don't have to get pregnant. I can still drink and party and ride the cock carousel. Oh, yeah, I'll do that. You know, and, oh, look at my baby. It's my wonderful baby. And here's, you know, the single fathers, MGTOW men. Hell, even the blue-pilled guys are still going to do a better job than the single mothers. So you know, it's going to be very interesting to see. Honestly, you're going to have, and like I said, I honestly think that you're going to see these communities develop over time. We're already seeing it right now in certain areas where you have men in one area and women in the other. And you're already seeing, you know, the effects of that. Has anyone looked at Section 8 housing yet? How many, you know, single fathers do you see in Section 8 housing?
None. They're not allowed to.
Exactly. So these communities are already forming. And the question then goes into the powers that be. You know, what do they want to come from this? I'm not them. I can't speak on their brilliant little master plan or whatever the hell they want to do with the human race. All I can say is it's utterly deplorable.
In regards to that, in regards to, you know, the overlords and the people behind the scenes, I just have to look at them the same way I look at God. If they do exist, there's nothing I can do about it. So let me be focused on reality and what I know, and affect my life and other people's lives that I do know are in reality. Make my effect upon the reality I can understand and affect, instead of worrying about the shit that I can't even verify.
Well, and that's the thing is, that's an interesting little connotation to put with it. If they're a higher, if they do exist, I'd treat them like a higher power. If they exist, well, I guess I've been following along the entire time, and I guess I'll just be. There was a psychologist that he had a rule for that. I forget his name, but his rule essentially was, if God exists, so I'm going to live myself. I'm going to live my life as a good, pious man. Do good things, be a good person, live my life. So if God exists, I go to heaven. And if God doesn't exist, well, at least
Occam's razor.
Huh?
Occam's razor.
Occam's razor?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. But I think it's I don't think that applies with overlords or this one world government conspiracy like that. But
surely it does. Why worry about the overlords controlling your society? It's not like you have an army to stop them. It's not like you have the resources to stop them.
Well,
why not focus on making the changes at the level that you're at, instead of worrying about a level thousands of leagues above you that you have no way of getting to?
Well, and that's exactly what I think MGTOW does a very good job of, is it puts the ball back into men's court by making them the very first thing that a MGTOW man has to do. You have to validate your own existence. You have to provide that validation. And by doing that, you have to actually acknowledge your own life and your own issues in life and handle these issues. You don't do anything else before you do that.
You have to understand that you are ultimately responsible for everything that happens to you and that you do, because it's your life and no one can live it for you.
Exactly.
Right.
And this goes back into what we were talking about before with the PUAs and the incels. The biggest issue I have with both crowds is they still have this bullshit mentality of, well, it's not women's fault, but it's not mine either. I was just playing by the game, dude. Like, I don't have to worry about it because my life depends upon the validation I get from women. So you have the PUAs over here going like, freaking, I'm awesome because all the women validate me, and you have the incels. I suck because no one loves me. And
well, you know, that's I disagree as far as like the idea of the incel. Honestly, yeah, sure. Maybe they are depressed because they can't be with the women that they want, or you know they're not able to have the sex they want to have. But as far as saying they're involuntarily celibate, that can't be true.
no, I completely agree with TFM and Raging Golden Eagle. If you have $20, you are not an incel.
Right. Like, if you're an incel, it's by choice. If you're a virgin, it's by choice. It means you have standards.
Well, and the thing I'm gonna talk about that too, because I actually, again, the whole reason why I'm bringing this up was I had this very interesting dialogue between myself and a video I came across that was basically it was a pro incel anti MGTOW video that not only didn't really actually provide any kind of substance.
What?
Yeah.
Pro
yeah,
incel anti MGTOW?
It was a pro incel anti MGTOW saying MGTOW were a bunch of arrogant incel losers that were losers because they didn't identify themselves as incels. And then if you watched, and no, this gets even better. This is the best part about this entire thing. The first, well, okay, there's two parts to this. The first part is the guy talking was using a voice changer, whether that or he sucked a balloon of helium because he sounded like this the entire time throughout the entire video.
So hold on.
But
pro incel anti MGTOW saying that MGTOW are losers because they're incel that think they're better than the other incel?
Yes.
Oh man, we can see why he's incel. but
it gets even better. So then he says, and I'm quoting, and if you like anime, that ain't no normie shit. You're an incel.
Oh shit.
And I'm like,
shit, attacking the mind.
Oh god, no, not my hentai. Oh,
you thought you fucked bitches? You only thought you fucked bitches. In reality, you like manga. You like anime. You like creative shit. Therefore, you are an incel.
Yeah, because the country it comes from, that's made by incels. And I'm like, I don't know who's been telling you that, but first of all...
That's not how things work.
No, well... But and the funny thing is, so I went ahead and I decided against better judgment. Yes, Silent Sage. Nani? Yeah, anyways, I decided against better judgment. I would go ahead and drop a comment on there and see what happened. And he came back and basically tried to say that he tried to defend his points by saying that when it comes to his comments about MGTOW, that he's not referring to all MGTOW, it's just some of them that he could tell were virgins or,
just
never
had
the
ones that are able to fall for it. Come on, guys.
Yeah. and then he oh no, this gets even better. And that he said, and this is another one of my quotes from him. What MGTOW need to do is we need to develop the Ugly Man Coalition, because women right now don't recognize that MGTOW are gone. They don't care. It's not, they're celebrating our, MGTOW leaving the plantation. Like everyone's like, oh great, MGTOW's gone. It's wonderful.
Well, he's not wrong there.
Oh, they're celebrating until they all hit the wall, and then we'll see how that goes. Well, and I left that on there too. I think the rising female suicide rate has something else to say about that.
Yeah, because they're all for it until they get to be the dried up, pruny, fucking angry cat mom bitches that they are, and they're like, well, what happened? Yeah.
Bob, that's great. $20 will give you crabs, not lobsters. Okay, but you're still I'm just gonna say this: if you're an incel, you're still having sex. So.
Well, just the phrase incel, it doesn't even match up with what they're trying to use it as.
And that's the thing, is it goes back to and then the other thing about it too is that what he told me, his brilliant vision was that all of the manosphere come together, because all the manosphere is made up of a bunch of ugly, pissed off men that are just pissed off at women because we all can't get laid. We need to all come together and create the Ugly Man Coalition and take the fight against women. And I'm like,
no, that's why degrade yourself? This is why you are an incel. However, One thing they can do if they want to change their incel community and try to find a way to have that self-respect and confidence that they're lacking, instead of being incel, be wincel. You are celibate because you win in the game of standards. You have standards. You're not going to fuck a whore. You're not going to fuck an easy bitch that you're not attracted to. You're waiting for the one that you want. And that's winning. Wincel. Please, let's spread that shit. Fuck incel. These guys are wincel.
Well, no, I have an even easier way to fix a problem. Become a MGTOW. Validate yourself, understand your own self-worth, and go from there. And if you go through all of the stages of MGTOW, come out through the other side, and you realize, I still suck at life, I can't help you. You have a lot of work, bud. You have a lot of things to do for yourself. That's beyond my power and my control. There's only so much I can do when it comes to the dark side of the Force, and I can't help you if you don't recognize the dark side. I need you to come to the dark side. I can show you some things. We can do some stuff.
Well, that's the thing, too, is that's partially why I'm saying Wincel. These guys typically, or at least stereotypically, are like the awkward dudes. The guys that don't really fit in. And for those kinds of guys, if we change what they call themselves, as far as being incel, to something positive, that even the MGTOW community is like, yeah, dude, good job being a wincel. That is a positive accolade, which they can be happy about. And starting with that chain of happiness, that chain of inner confidence and fulfillment, that can be one of their first steps on the way to MGTOWdom.
Okay, I was previously disagreeing with you. I'm now completely with you. We need to make this a thing. Wincel for the win. Don't be an incel. You're now a wincel.
That's right. Fuck being incel. You're a wincel, motherfucker. You're waiting till you get the right bitch. That's all.
But I mean, no, seriously. The thing that I don't understand is, and I even see this with some of the PUAs, is the inherent focus on the way you look. And it's like, if you want to if you want to build confidence in any way, shape, or form, by all means, go to the gym, do your thing. Like, I'm fitness, myself. I like to go work out and do my stuff. But when it comes down to it, you have to be comfortable with the way you look. Because unlike women, we don't get, well, you could use makeup. If you want to use makeup, go ahead. And if you can rock it, I mean, dude, your thing.
I would totally be laughing if I saw like a straight dude wearing makeup in a non-feminine way.
Oh, it's happening.
First, I would be like, oh. But then I'd be like,
oh, no. The PUAs already do it.
Oh yeah, they do, huh? Right? But
yeah.
They use it in a feminine way. They use it to make themselves more attractive.
Well, but that's why else would you use makeup?
To make yourself scary. To make yourself bold.
Okay, this is not Halloween. We're not goths.
Just saying. That's how. If I used makeup, I would be turning myself into a demon. Because yeah.
Okay, so Bob, what is a Volcel? Is it like Voltron?
I think it means like voluntary celibate.
Voluntary. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So we're no longer monks. We're voluntary celibates. We voluntarily identify as celibate.
Yeah, but wincel I think it just sounds better.
Well, okay. You know what the funny thing is? We were having this discussion. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago now in the listening post when it comes to the concept of virginity and what it means for men now, because that's one of the biggest ways to shame men.
We have talked about this before.
One of the biggest ways to shame men is, oh, you've never had sex with a woman. And yes, Volcel does sound like a transformer, which is the reason why I'm all for it. But the thing, like, that's the first shaming language, and this is both out of for the funny thing I find about, like, when it comes to like these red pill guys is, when the incel PUA, the very first thing that they will tell men is, you suck because you're not getting laid. And I'm like, I didn't realize we invited the gynocentric bullshit into the red pill community.
Right.
So I understand that the reason why they're considered red pill is because they understand female nature, which I guess that in and of itself is red pill. But how exactly do you benefit men by the very first thing that you do is shame them for something that is, I mean, it's ludicrous.
Well, what they're trying to do, and the fucked up thing is it's natural. What they're trying to do is to tap into the societal urge between alpha and beta. They're trying to exert their dominance, just like they do in their PUA bullshit of picking up women. Is trying to exert their dominance so that later on they can concede a little bit, and then it seems like even ground was given, and then all of a sudden you're more inclined to accept their ideas. It's manipulation.
Well, and I understand. I understand why exactly they do it, but what I find is very interesting is why they think it has power with MGTOW. Oh, you're just a virgin loser. So, what's your
because not
again? Not speaking myself, but I'm just saying, like in that context, what's your point?
Well, okay, so it's exactly just like when they're doing PUA on women. It's not going to work all the time. It's not going to work on everyone. But you don't need it to work all the time on everyone. You just need it to work sometimes. So if they can shame a man into agreeing with him or backing down or shutting up, then that's more ground gain and half the battle won, sort of deal.
Yeah, I mean it's feeling some GI Joe stuff going on here. Half the battle's laser, the other half is knowing. I mean, when it comes down to it, ultimately, I really agree with what MGTOW values had to state, which is virginity actually gives men so much power now because they've never been tempted. They've never had that temptation actually given to them, so they can, when it comes to it, oh no, I don't care, whatever, do your thing. So it's something that will only benefit these men, really harm them long term. If that makes sense.
I think that I understand the idea behind that, but
Okay, I'm not arguing for a lifetime thing, but I would definitely argue against the concept of go out and find a girl and have a good time. I would rather it's like just get a doll or wait for sex robots.
For sure. But what I meant was, as far as the idea of like the need or the temptation, I was really glad that I lost my virginity as early as I did, because as I was going through my teenage years and into adulthood, I knew that pussy wasn't shit, and to not make decisions based on it.
I mean,
I don't remember. Did you hear my virginity story?
no, I don't think I've heard it.
All right. So, yeah, I was
getting deep now.
Yeah, so I was 13. I was 13 and about 6 foot tall with a mustache and an athletic build. And I had another friend who was freakishly tall like I was. And one day I visited over at his place, and we were playing video games and throwing the football, whatever, just doing what tall dudes do. And he had a cute, big-chested, just like sexy older sister there. And I was like, all hormoned up and shit, like couldn't take my eyes off of her. And eventually, like, she was asking me to rub her and like give her a massage, and we were in the back and in her room. This went on and off all day long. But then at the end of the night, it was, I was ready to go to sleep. So was my friend. But then his sister came and said, "Hey, come in the back room with us." I said, "Yeah, sure." And it was her and her friend, and they're both in their 20s. They're both in college. And it was funny because I was doing my thing, right? I was talking to them and touching them and stuff, and my friend came in kind of like cock blocking me because he was jealous. But So, anyways,
You can't have sex with my sister. Only I can.
that's kind of what it felt like.
Oh God.
To be honest, I was getting like a strange vibe. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I get it, but holy shit. But okay, so anyways, uh, the the friend of the girl was like a skinnier white chick, and because my mom was a white chick, I was like, no, fuck that. I'm not really attracted to you. Sorry, but my white women are ruined for me. But the brown sister, I can do that. So we went in her like closet of a room or closet of a bedroom, started making out, got to it, lost my virginity that night, woke up in the morning with a beautiful shaved vagina in my face, took a shower, ate some vitamins, and went to school. Now, the reason I bring it up is not because I'm proud of it, because while it's a story that might impress teenagers or some other dudes, that's not why I tell it. I tell it because these girls, these women, were 20 or older, in college, and had boyfriends. And they cheated on those boyfriends with a 13-year-old athletic kid. I understood then that women are whores, can't trust them, and pussy isn't worth all that much.
Well, and the other thing to consider too is, I mean, honestly, it sounds almost exactly like one of those. Here's a very attractive teacher that's having sex with one of her male students who is literally just he just hit puberty. Because when you're 13 years old, you basically, as a guy, you've just started the actual part of puberty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the main actual hormonal drive, the main actual growth. So, and honestly, it's kind of sad, honestly, to hear that though. Not
Yeah.
not.
But that's why I share it, is because although the guys we're talking to now and the guys in our audience, they already know this. The guys who might be stopping by, guys who might watch it later, it's good for this sort of information to be out there, because if you're like Igor's age and you're worried about it, and all of a sudden you have this opportunity, just know that it's not gonna. You will be disappointed unless you are extremely lucky.
Well, and the other thing that should be considered too is really okay. Exactly, MGTOW thread makes the point. No one told you early enough what is up.
Well, yeah, there's such a taboo of talking with children and talking on adult subjects, as if, being prepared for being the adult you eventually have to become is a bad idea.
Well, what I've really noticed is it's not just so much of children, it's specifically boys are not told what's actually going on. Girls, they fucking know what's up by the time they turn like 12.
That's true.
Like at this point. Boys in their 20s, I'm literally, I see these guys at college right now still believing in the if I act like a gentleman, if I act like, a nice guy, if I treat a girl nice, I can get like the whole Disney package, the white picket fence, the nice house, the nice car, the dog, the 2 kids running around, everything is going to be great. And here's all these girls just sitting there running fucking circles around them, and these guys are going, what? I don't understand what's going on. This isn't what I was told. Because the girls knew, like literally at that age, at 13, they already knew what was up. And I think it goes into exactly what Thread put in there again. Where are the dads for the boys? And I'm going to say this right now. When it comes to my own personal experience, honestly, my father was an absolute failure. So, he is the epitome of everything that is wrong with being raised by a single mother. And ironically, I was raised by a single mother as a result. But I learned from him everything I should not be. And that's the reason why I've become a better man, is because I was able to I looked at him and went, I'm not going to be anything like you. I'm going to be better than you in every way I can possibly imagine, even if it's something as simple as I'm going to breathe better than you, I will do better than you. So, and if that sounds, because I know that you're a father, if that sounds, awful, it's because it really is.
That's nature.
Yeah.
You're supposed to say, okay, if you're a good role model, I want to be like you. If you're a bad role model, I want to be better than you and destroy the image of you in my mind.
Yeah, but and the thing is, we are in a gender war right now. They can't win through violence. They can't. This is not going to be like an actual conflict. This is not going to be an actual in the streets, fighting. Like a plane flying overhead. Although that'd be really cool, and this entire thing would be done in like 15 minutes. That'd be great. But it's not going to be. No, seriously. Oh my God! Here's the one female pilot and the other 40 behind her. All these guys that are just like, okay, cool.
Well,
so
how would that work if they don't have any guys to assist them when they don't want to do the flying themselves?
Honestly, about 3 weeks ago, I would have said, oh, it would have been the White Knights and the Cucks. But since the White Knights and the Cucks won't even stand up for the women anymore, Brie Larson?
Yeah, because she's stronger than Thanos. She can make those planes fly.
Yeah, totally not the reason why Endgame is looking to cut Captain Marvel right now.
Dude, I'm already done. I'm done with Disney. I'm done with Marvel. Like, fuck it. I don't need to give them any of my money or attention. I'm over it.
If I can see Endgame for free, I will. Otherwise, I haven't even watched Black Panther or the last Spider-Man movie, so I'm not really. I don't really, feel all that obliged to go see anything anymore. And honestly, that goes into our next topic, the thing that we've been talking about, which is
it does.
Movie reviews.
Sorry,
I ruined it.
No, no worries. I'm gonna be creating on my next live stream. It's going to be a show called MGTOW Brothers Men's Movie Review. I am going to pick my movie, and Joe is going to pick his movie, and we're going to give a rundown, a summarized review of each movie and how they stack up to MGTOW values and how they help men. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be. I'm not sure. It'll be the first one. It'll definitely get better as we go, but it'll definitely be fun. Basically, the idea here is that we want to each pick a movie, and the first stipulation for the first show will be to pick a movie where the star is not primarily known for that movie. So, for example, you couldn't pick Terminator because Arnold Schwarzenegger is known for being the Terminator by most people. It's going to be fun.
That makes it interestingly difficult for sure. So,
and then you have to give a review, you have to give points on why it's good, and then see whose review is better.
Yeah, and we'll discuss how we're going to do a rubric or something along those lines. But ultimately, when it comes to films and let's go ahead and use this time. Films and media right now, I have the distinct impression that Western media is dying and that there is a drastic shift towards Eastern entertainment because it's giving men actually decent male characters and a decent society or a decent storyline in society. That's what I'm seeing right now. What do you think about that?
Definitely. I mean, what strong male role models do we have? I can't think of any. There's definitely none being pushed in the media. There's definitely none being talked about. I think the best role models we have are fictional characters.
Well, absolutely. Which is the reason why I think that there is such an attack right now when it comes to superheroes and the social justice nonsense. Why they keep pushing so much for social justice in comic books and these superheroes, because it's the last remnants of male role models.
Right. It's the male ego role model of wanting to be the strongest, the fastest, the most honorable, the most valorous, extreme at the end of the range. It's what men aspire to be. Well, some men, at least. And it's
Yes,
being taken away. It's being corrupted. It's fucking ridiculous.
Savage, I definitely will have to check that out. Our gods wear spandex. But really what it comes down to is, like, for example, I thought this was a very interesting little storyline for anyone that went ahead and read or paid attention to Batman comics. They went through this entire thing where Batman and Catwoman were going to get married. They were going to do the big lead up, and then she leaves him at the altar. The funny thing is, and I'm like, there's no way they did that. So I went ahead and I looked into it, and I swear to God, the author is red pilled, because what happens to Bruce Wayne after the fact is he essentially becomes a MGTOW. He decides he will never go through that again because he realizes he put so much effort and validation, so much effort into attaining her validation that he literally was going to destroy his own life. And it goes into exactly what I was talking about before when it comes to my own personal story when it comes to women. Is there was a woman who I was literally going to put everything in my life aside for. I was willing to do that. And I realize now, well, that was dumb. But at the time, I thought I was actually quite literally in love with this girl. But I was not in love with her. I was in love with the concept of being in love. So
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting that even in the comic book industry now, and DC is very interesting because they actually do have a lot of heroes right now throwing red pills. So they do. They actually do bring up quite a few men's issues and men's problems through male superheroes, and there's actually a few of them where
Well, it's smart. Marvel's fucking themselves over.
Marvel is doing something absolutely incredible, and that is taking the most credited and absolutely, I mean, just worldwide sold entertainment industry and destroying it in a second. That's a work of art. That's a feat in and of itself. I applaud you. That's some really good effort you got going on there, bud.
Yeah, it's like a beautiful car crash. Nothing good happened, but you can't stop looking.
Like, you see a Ferrari and a Bugatti, and they just smash into each other, and there's a guy flying out of the window doing cartwheels, and someone's running around on fire. It's beautiful. You can't stop but just wow. And here's Brie Larson screaming, "If only white men weren't here, none of this would have happened."
What?
Speaking of which, they did the financial report for Captain Marvel. They lost $110 million off of that movie.
Wow, yeah, it's maybe even more. It hasn't even come out yet, right?
No, they did a preliminary financial report.
That's their projected loss, right?
No, it's basic. This is the one where it's plus or minus 5 million.
Or is that like current of they already are at a loss?
Already at a loss of.
Damn.
Because opening weekend, they had, as we were talking about before, 21% viewers were actually going to see the movie, and overall it was an absolute. I guess it's not the best word for this, but I guess it was a blowout in a way because of how many people did not show up. So, kind of reminds me of that the women's national soccer team that got blown out by the high schoolers 60-0 or 30-0. Same thing right now is happening to Captain Marvel. Don't show up, men. All right,
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? If you didn't want to lose all of those men's money, you probably shouldn't have egged them on. It's stupid.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing about it is, it goes into the same thing I've been reading when it comes to, because I saw that you made a video about gaming, and I've seen other MGTOW talk about it too, and I think Raging Golden Eagle makes it a very good point to keep talking about it and discussing it, because obviously it's something he's very interested in. But there is absolutely no reason why this thought should exist that there's all these female gamers and all these female nerds out there, when these industries have been statistically proven for the better part of 40 now to be primarily male. Primarily white males between the ages of 18 and 40. Like, go ahead. Piss us off. You're
Well,
going to live.
yeah, I mean, this goes into something I was talking about with Portuguese MGTOW recently. The way this is all happening, look at the way the game industry is doing what it's doing. Look at the movie industry. Look at the comics. Look at all these industries that men typically enjoy and use for their distractions. All of them are being taken over and corrupted. So much so that men are being repelled by it. And I believe that this is on purpose. I believe that the strategy being used here is to take away everything men love and enjoy, so that it's no longer there for them, and they are forced to do something else. And I think that freeing up and that forced to do something else, they have a design or a desire for that. And the only way the men are able to fight that is by going their own way. The blue pill men who don't understand what going their own way means, or are unwilling to, are going to be corralled and forced to be doing the bidding of the people who fucking destroyed everything.
Well, and this is the reason why I said that there was a shift right now from Western to Eastern entertainment. And I think that's the reason why we're now seeing companies like Sony essentially shoot themselves in the foot. And literally, again, this was something Raging Golden Eagle was talking about. Their new censorship of games has literally there will not be a PlayStation 5. They have destroyed their market that much, and yet they keep doubling down on it. So I do believe that it has to do with something that, exactly what you're saying is they want to push men completely out of really everything that's allowing men to comfortably avoid women.
Right.
So, because I mean, the whole reason what makes a lot of men happy are, video games, movies, shows, anime, sex dolls. These are things that make men happy. We don't have to deal with women. I have everything I need, and I don't need to, work, myself half to death, because I can afford it all and work, a normal job, and I don't need anything special. I can afford my life as is. So I think that definitely there is a lot of money to be made on the concept of trying to push men out of that comfort zone. But I don't think that they realize what will happen when they do that. This will not be a, oh, look, all the men came back and everything's fine. It's going to be like, oh, they're back and they have pitchforks.
I think we made it angry.
Yeah. Just keep poking it with a stick. Find out what happens. Is it dead? No, it keeps mumbling something. What? Leave me alone.
And it's just like, this is one of my favorite things to talk about in the terms of that. Do you remember the story a while back, a few years ago maybe, where these dumbass white kids were at a zoo and kept fucking with a tiger?
Yeah, and then the tiger jumped out and killed him.
Yeah, he jumped out of the cage and said, "Bitch, you're mine. You're dead."
Yep.
You take for granted the peace and security you have, and think that it's okay to bully and harass and harm the people who you think you have control over. Keep doing that and see how quickly shit can change.
Well, and I think that's really what we're seeing right now is because this is something that I know I've at least brought it up. I don't think I've actually fully discussed it yet. Was this concept of even the few feminist or male feminist friends that I still have, I've lost quite a few of them when it comes to discussing abortion laws in Virginia. Apparently, they didn't take too kindly to me telling them that they're full of shit, but, you know. In any case, when it comes to even right now, even they will say, if you just ask a question, do you think that things are going well between men and women right now? You just ask that question. You know, you don't bring up MGTOW, you don't bring up Red Pill. You just ask them, do you think things are going, well between men and women right now, like, dating and marriage-wise? Even the freaking male feminists will come out and say, no. And then you ask them, why do you think that? Well, I think it's because things are being pushed too far. The fucking male feminists will come out and say it.
Yeah, and then you keep asking them the questions, and then eventually they have to start picking a side, and of course it's going to be the female side.
Well, and of course, at some point they're going to revert to the gynocentrism, and like, oh God, have a good one, Savage. Very happy to have you here, but
later, brother.
Really, when it comes down to it, it's the fact that if even the most blue-pilled cuck will admit that there is an inherent issue with what's going on right now, every single one, like every man out there right now, and especially when it comes to Gillette and when it comes to Kavanaugh was an eye-opener for a lot of men, including myself. When it comes to this, I didn't think it was that big of a problem, and then I'm sitting there watching Kavanaugh, a man who's very clearly innocent, in front of Congress, and they're talking about literally putting him in jail for a crime he did not commit. I thought that was, that's incredible.
Dude, I had a conversation with this really scrawny dude who went to college, and I think that's really all I can really do to explain who he is.
Yep.
I had a discussion with him while the trials were ongoing, and I was like, okay, so like, what do you think about this? And he goes, well, regardless of if there's evidence that he did it or not, he's a liar. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, do you mean that like he is corrupt and is on the take and is casting judgments for favors, or like what do you mean? He said he wasn't an alcoholic, but when he was a kid he drank beer, and he drank beer a lot in college. I'm like, what? But that's not even the same thing. That doesn't make a lie. It just means he wasn't an alcoholic. You could drink a lot of alcohol without being an alcoholic. And it's just...
Well, and because I was having this conversation with someone too, same topic. They tried to use the same exact thing, and of course, I taking it a step further, I was having this with a full-blown, it was a girl that you look at her, oh, you're normal, and then she opens her mouth, and you're like, oh dear God, oh dear God, and she's like, well, he lied about drinking in college, and I looked at her and I said, everyone lies about drinking underage. You're underage. I saw you with a beer at that party. What were you doing? Like,
and the fucked up part about talking with this dude is when he said that, he looked around at the other dudes like him at the table we were at, and they all like nodded at him, and he felt like super confident. he had to gauge the crowd to make sure they were on his side.
Well, and I think that's really again, I think this is something that goes into the definite difference between MGTOW men. Well, actually, it's something that MGTOW and PUA kind of share a little bit, and that is, we'll say whatever the hell we want. We don't care about the consequence. Well, we care about the consequences, but we're confident enough to say it. We don't need someone else's approval to say it. Now, am I saying MGTOW and PUA are the same? No, because PUA, it's like, okay, according to the bro code, page 55, I have to say this to get into your pants. And MGTOW's like, I don't care what the hell you think. Just, this is the fact. This is what I think. You don't like it, there's the door.
Mm.
I'm completely off base with that comment, I understand, but really, when it comes down to it, is I think it's actually funny you bring that up. Is that's even something I've noticed going to college physically right now. Is these kids won't actually say something unless they get approval for someone else, or like they have to have someone else speak first and then they'll talk. I don't know how many classes I've been in where the because here's the professor, like, I'm asking you a question, what is this? And the class will like look at them like, ah.
Yeah, because they're hoping that the teacher is going to tell them what to say, instead of having their own thoughts.
So here I am. I'm like, I don't care if I'm wrong. I think it's this. It's not that. Well, I guess I'm wrong. I'm learning things now.
Yeah, I'm the dude that will take it a step further and be like, well, I really think it is this. Can you explain why I'm wrong?
Well, and that's exactly what I do. Is I'm like, I think it's this. Well, you're wrong. Okay, why?
Right.
Like, and these kids will like look at me like, oh my god.
Oh, you're such a contrarian.
Well, I literally had one class last semester where it was literally just me and the teacher going back and forth the entire semester. No one else ever answered a question. It was just me answering any question. Like, the teacher wouldn't like stop asking class. They'd just be like, "What do you think, Joe? It's this."
Oh man.
And of course, I'm saying your average Joe, and the fact that it's but. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's kind of funny. Like, well, what do you think? Well, I think it's this. Well, you're wrong. Surprise!
Oh.
Look at me. I'm shocked right now. I'm genuinely shocked. So, but I don't understand where exactly what the issue with this is, and especially with these young men. The women, the younger women, I can kind of understand when it comes to, you need that group, you need that clique, you need to, I don't want to say anything that makes me look too smart or too this or too that, so, fine, whatever. But the young men, they act like girls.
Well, that's what they were raised to be.
It's just, I know we talk about this stuff. I know we've discussed it in length, but it still surprises me that there's not even a 2 or 3 year difference between my age and some of these other people. And I look at them and I go, you're all so effeminate. And you're supposed to be the massive conservative Generation Z, and you're all a bunch of prissy little hipsters. I thought the millennials were supposed to be.
Being a man is bad. So the more like a woman you can be, the more better that is.
Yeah. Be the betters. We need to be more traditional.
The fucked up thing is, look at how many things men are better at than women. Men are even better at being women.
Yeah, as we've seen both with Caitlyn Jenner winning Women of the Year and these transgender athletes just blowing out these female track stars. There's nothing men can't do.
Including being a better woman than a woman.
Well, okay, speaking of which, there's an even more up-to-date version of the Caitlyn Jenner thing.
I know, I saw that.
One of the contestants for the Miss Universe contest is a transgender woman. And she...
Oh, shit, for real?
Yeah, she won the contest, and then the women... She freaking won Miss Universe. They threw a fit and had her thrown out because she's not really a woman.
Fuck, if I was one of those girls, I'd have been like throwing shit like, he's not even a girl!
This is what I think is a hilarious thing, and again, this was going back into the live stream yesterday. They're going to turn on the transgender movement now because women are losing to men. That's how they look at it. You're still a man. It's like, I thought gender was a social construct.
Yeah, what is it? All about the LGBTQ whatever.
Yeah. Well, no, and the best part is, and then if we're going to go along with the whole thing of, well, biology's just a myth, there's no biological difference between men and women, so then what the fuck is the issue?
You stand corrected.
Well, no, like, to me, it's like, if biology's not there's nothing different between men and women, where's the male privilege come from then? If we're biologically the same, where do men get their privilege?
And the flip side of that is the trans that go from women to men give reports of how shitty being a man is.
I thought the funniest thing I've seen so far this year, and there's been quite a few funny things. The funniest thing I've seen so far this year has to be the transgender man who was a woman feminist who thought becoming a man would have gotten her all of this privilege, or sorry, him all of this privilege. I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube for misgendering people.
I will. Fuck it. It was a girl. Come on.
Yeah, I'm messing around. But words are magic spells. Yes, they are. And I'm casting a very, I'm casting a big one here. But she turned into a man thinking that she would get all of this privilege. She'd get the paycheck. She'd get the job. She'd get, the diversity hire. Like, she'd get to join this big old, the boys club that, they always talk about. It's just the boys club. Boys can be the
best part for me was not only did she see how wrong she was, but once she had that hormone replacement, once she started feeling like a man and thinking like a man, women irritated the shit out of her.
Yeah. She cannot stand to even so much as talk to women anymore because she's like, I can't stand them. They fucking nag me all the time. They don't participate in conversations. They don't have anything meaningful to say. They just don't shut up. And the best part is, someone's like, so have you gotten in a fight yet? And she's like, yes, I did. I got my ass kicked. Because if you look at her...
Because she's only been in female fights. She doesn't understand the difference between a woman fight and a man fight.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is that's like the first thing that she went out and did because she was going to prove that, women can become men and that, will become stronger than men. So she went to a bar and talked the normal shit females talk, because girls talk all kinds of shit and they never get into fights, unless it's just another girl. Because, well, I'm a guy, I can't hit a girl,
Which,
so
by the way, fuck that. Bitch fights with me, I'm gonna knock her out.
I am an equal opportunity provider for all things in life, including these hands. But so, and if you look at her, she looks like a fat dude.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, I looked at him and I'm like, that's a fat, what do you mean that was a girl? So, starts talking all this shit. Lights out. Yeah, and I thought it was amazing. And this is not the first time that this has happened. That she's like, apparently there's now a group of them now that are sitting there trying to fight for men's rights now because they're now men. They can't go back. So they're now like, oh, we need men's rights because, this sucks.
And there's the awakening of the general disdain society has for men and the harshness of the male reality.
Well, and the thing is, I thought the funniest part of that entire thing, that entire interview, because it was, there was also, because she did the interview with CNN, but she also did another interview with an actual, like, Red Pill group. Mm-hmm. And the guy goes, so, now that you've experienced a little taste of what life is like as a man, do you think men genuinely, like who do you think actually has it worse, men or women? And she came down and immediately, right there, no hesitation, well, I think it's men have it so much worse than everyone else, and nobody gives them any credit for it. Nobody has any idea how bad men actually have it. Like, women have no clue how bad men actually have it. This is unbelievable. She's like, how do you deal with this? We just do.
We have no choice.
Yeah. Like, your reality from day one is either you put up or shut up on everything. It's only been recently where you could get away with not doing either.
You know what? I think that'll be a great transition into the end. Put up or shut up.
Oh, yeah.
I want your review, sir. When do we want to do the live stream where we present our reviews? Let's schedule that.
Let's see here. We'll go ahead and discuss that in an email and go back and forth on that.
Sure.
But I think you're right. We've been talking for the better part of 2 hours now.
Yeah.
And I think that we have had a very successful first live stream. So, when
Definitely.
in doubt, any final comments?
Definitely. Okay, so firstly, there's a few people that were here and they left, they're gone, but I wanted to thank them and everyone who's still here for joining this conversation between your average Joe and When in Doubt MGTOW. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for being such an awesome community. Secondly, Project Mayhem. It lives. It's going on. You guys can be part of it. You can choose not to be, but it's for all men. So think about what you can do to be a man taking action. The video will be coming out pretty much just whenever it's done to sound like Star Wars back when it was good. But yeah, so when it's done, it'll come out and it'll be awesome. I'm gonna put so much work into it. I want it to be really good for you guys. And then after that, actually, I wanted to ask the community here for MGTOW Church. I have some really like big ideas, and I want to get like custom art done. And I think I might open up like a a donation page so that I can pay the artist. It's not going to go to me. It's not going to be a profit, but it'll pay the artist for his work. I really want to get like a really high quality thing going here. And once I have those artworks done, I can then go the cheap way of reusing them and all of that. But I really want to make some really high quality stuff, and unfortunately, I'm just not that very talented as an artist. So if I could get that going and get that those donations for the art, I would fucking love that. I'd love that. If you guys could do that, it'd be awesome. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
All right. Well, we went ahead and we knocked every single one of these topics out of the ballpark. We touched on some comfortable places. We touched in some uncomfortable places. So after this,
hey, don't touch me in my uncomfortable places.
Everybody will be getting a doll, and then you can go ahead and show them where your average Joe touched you. But to go ahead and end this off, thank you very much, everyone that went ahead and came and watched this.
Definitely.
And even you, when in doubt, for participating in this. This has been a very successful first live stream for Your Average Joe. And I look forward to bringing more of these. I'm not sure if they're going to be every Thursday. I will definitely have to figure out how I want to do these, if it's going to be every week or every other week. But overall, thank you very much for coming. I'm an equal opportunity provider and equal rights and equal lefts. And remember, you're not an incel if you have $20. And if you buy the soap, it doesn't look like soap, it doesn't smell like soap, it's probably not soap. So with that, thank you very much, and a good MGTOW day.
Peace.